Hello, and today I'm going to play Solo Champions League Season 4 Round 1, which was Hulk in any aspect, versus Crossbones with experimental weapons, Bomb Scare, Legions of Hydra, and the standard encounter sets, as well as Weapon Master. And my obligation is here as well. I am going to cut to another video explaining how I approach deck building for a Solo Champions League scenario. I'm going to talk briefly about how I approach deck building for a Solo Champions League progression style gameplay of Marvel Champions. So we're in Season 4, Round 1, Crossbones with the experimental weapons, Weapon Master, Legions of Hydra, and Bomb Scare mod sets. We're using Hulk, and he can be in any of the four core aspects: aggression, justice, leadership, or protection. I know from looking at the Discord server for the Solo Champions League that this particular season and round had a due date submittal of January 25th, 2021. At that time, the most recent expansion release for the game was the Wasp Hero Pack. So if you're going to do a restricted deck building, which a lot of new players who post on Reddit for Marvel Champions, they say that they want to slowly work through their collection, and in order to get familiar with the cards, the game has 4,845 cards released at this time. It's kind of overwhelming, especially for folks coming in buying a whole collection on eBay or something like that nowadays, which is how some people seem to be entering the game in order to get out of print content. So if you're going to do a progressive card unlocking style challenge, you could approach MarvelCDB. I highly recommend you have an account. If you're going to do deck building, it's almost a requirement these days. You can go to my collection and just uncheck everything that came after the Wasp Hero Pack. One issue with that is that the campaigns are listed in their own side here. The scenario packs are over here. You would need to know, for instance, when did Rise of Red Skull come out relative to Wasp? So this is one way to do it. I don't typically do it this way. I'll have my collection filled out, which is most of these decks already. So instead, the way I would approach the deck building for Solo Champions League with a restriction as of Wasp, I would go to Hulk. So I'm under My Decks, New Deck. I'm going to choose Hulk, create a Hulk deck. And now I'll type something like, under the name, Hulk Solo Champions League Season 4, Round 1, and I'll put Wasp restriction. Okay, this is just a note to myself that I'm restricting myself to cards before Wasp. So under pack filter, I will just uncheck everything that shows up after Wasp. And what you'll see now is the scenario, the big box expansions, as well as the hero packs, are all sorted together in chronological order, which is really good for doing what we're trying to do here today. So I'm going to uncheck everything after the Wasp Hero Pack. And if I click options, I make sure I have cumulative selected. I can unclick basic. Here are all of the cards in the card pool available to me. So I might approach the challenge by looking at, this whole list and seeing what looks interesting to me for a Hulk build. Another thing sometimes I'll do is I'll just look at the most recent pack. So again, in this case, the Wasp pack, and see what cards came with her. Ironheart is a basic ally, which draws you a card. There's some aggression allies. There's the All for One event, Into the Fray event, which is good for removing threat if you're Hulk, although it is a lightning resource. So I look at this and decide if that's going to, the most recent pack, is that going to impact how I choose to play this hero? See what was kind of new in the community back in 2021 and kind of go through that experience with them, the new cards that were available. In this particular case, I'm not going to choose a Wasp specific card that influences how I build this deck. I did review the various aspects. I did choose to go with the leadership aspect. Just figuring that I would be able to bring in some allies. They could help me do the thwarting, especially if the Legions of Hydra side scheme comes out in order for me to be able to defeat Madame Hydra and continue defeating the villain. So I'll click leadership. Now I just have to click on one of these things and unclick it. And now it shows me the whole card pool, allies, events, resources, supports, and upgrades, basic, and leadership. These are all the cards I can build from. Hulk, as you may know, has several cards which have requirements like this. You can only spend fist resources to pay for Crushing Blow. Hulk Smash, if you use only fist resources, it gets overkill. Suborbital Leap removes additional threat if you pay for it, only using fist resources. So a way I would approach deck building, filter help. I can do a filter on resource physical by typing RP. That refers to the resource in the bottom left side of a card. So resource physical greater than 0. In other words, it has a physical resource printed on the card. This was the first thing I looked at as I built the deck. There's some cool cards in here. For instance, Get Ready. To ready an ally, get multiple uses out of your allies before you use them for a block or what's called a chump block, right? Obviously, some good allies in here. Mockingbird, which has stuns the villain. Lockjaw, which I can play from my discard pile, which is pretty good for all the... Hulk can end up with a 4-card hand that's full of resources. Being able to play Lockjaw is really valuable there. I've pretty much never used the Kate Bishop Hawkeye ally. However, I noticed that she's a fist resource, so she's good for me to spend for Hulk. And additionally, if I get stuck with an extra triple, my limitless strength, I could discard it and use her for 3 damage without a consequential, or if she only has 1 health left, for instance. So that's how I started approaching the deck building. I would do stuff like resource greater than 0. You also have Call for Aid, which calls for Avenger allies. So again, you could do a trait. So I could do show me resource physical, or I could do show me Avenger allies. And then I might look at just the physical ones. Okay, Black Knight, he's a physical and he's an Avenger ally. Might be good for this deck. Again, we already talked about Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, Vision, Wonder Man's in there, which again, if I get stuck with a card, might be useful for me to use. I'll show you the final deck I ended up with. Kind of see the name nomenclature I use for the deck. Solo Champions League Season 4 Round 1. It's Crossbones with the 4 or 5 mod sets we mentioned, and the cards released through WASP. You can see I end up with a total of 35 physical resources in the deck. I really heavily leaned into the physical resources. The only allies I added that weren't a physical were Ironheart, Maria Hill, and Nick Fury, all of which, of course, have card draw associated with them. Helicarrier's there. It is a physical. It does cost 3, which means I can spend my triples on it. Quinn Carrier, I am an Avenger. No upgrades. I am planning on rolling through this villain. He's got very low health relative to what Hulk can do, as I hope that will show in the gameplay. I'm not worried about building out upgrades. I'm going to play allies if I have to, hit the villain when I can. Hopefully the allies can do some thwarting for me. I can do some get readies. And depending on how low health he is, I can also use them to attack. Strength in numbers. It is a fist. 0 cost. It lets me get some card draw if I have allies out. Again, let me save them for chump blocks, future thwarting, etc. So this is the deck, as you can see, and I'll post a link in the description below. And that's how I approach deck building for Solo Champions League. Now that you're back, we'll talk about what I'm doing here. I'm playing in Solo Champions League Season 4 Round 1, which was due on January 21st, 2025, playing against Crossbones today with Hulk and my leadership deck. I use this as a progression challenge for myself, and so I can see how veteran players who were playing back near the release of the box got to encounter new card releases and how they impacted the game. So, for example, this is prior to, I believe, like Hone Technique coming out. So there'll be a big power spike for some of my aggression decks when I get to that. I do play the game regularly with a full card collection. So this is something I do for fun, for enjoyment of the game, and also because there's 4,870 cards actually in this game right now. So this is a way for me to kind of see some of those cards and see more of those cards that have been maybe surpassed by cards that might be a little more efficient or that I just prefer, and I might not play some of these cards if it wasn't for restricted deck building. It's also something that I often recommend new players do so that they can get familiar with the card pool. And additionally, I often see new players even writing on Reddit that they want to play the game this way themselves. They're choosing to impose a deck building restriction. So we've talked about the deck. We've talked about what I'm doing. Of course, you cannot retroactively score Solo Champions League. It was scored as a proprietary method. Additionally, there's been rule changes, there's been card interactions and errata that have affected the game since Solo Champions League was released. So, for example, defense was changed significantly as the rules went on in the game as to what meant defending. When the core box was released, it only meant basic defending with your hero. It didn't mean playing a defensive card. So it wouldn't really even be fair if you could score it to compare yourself, your own score, to somebody who's playing in 2021 under a different rule set. So I use this just to guide my gameplay as to what scenario I'm going to play against, and my only win condition is if I win or lose. When you played Solo Champions League, your goal was to end with 0 threat on main scheme 1B, to have full health on your hero, no minions, no side schemes. I'm not playing the game that way. For me, I like to play the game the way it's rules as written, which is just win or lose. So we've got Crossbones set up here with 12 health. I have set up the experimental weapons deck of 4 cards, and when revealed on 1B, I'm going to reveal the top card of the experimental weapons deck. This scheme does come in with 0 threat to start. This is my threat counter, and when I get to 3 per person, it will pop to 1B. The card he got is the laser rifle, which is a +1 attack card. So I will give him a +1 attack. When it attacks, he gains range, which means I don't have retaliate. The way I'm going to play this without installing any upgrades on Hulk, that is not really going to affect how I play the scenario. I don't plan to spend that card away. So Bruce Banner starts with a 5-card hand size. I did get a Hulk Smash, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got a Hulk Smash and a Quinn Carrier right off the bat. However, folks, what I am trying to do in this game is simply to beat Crossbones as quickly as possible. If I have a Hulk Smash, I'm going to play a Hulk Smash. I'm going to end up discarding whatever card I don't use. So I'm actually, it would be nice to get a triple to be able to get in Wonder Man. If I got a triple and 2 more resources, I can play Wonder Man. I'm going to mulligan 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. I did not get a triple. So I will only be able to, I'm going to lose, unfortunately, these other cards, but that will be okay. So I will flip up. I use these technically from burger tokens. They're stun and tough. I use them as double-sided ready tokens. So I am going to just go right ahead and do a Hulk Smash for 3 + 10 attack. And that will be 13 damage. Crossbones has 12 health. So I have defeated Crossbones stage 1. Crossbones stage 2 comes out. He comes out, he has piercing if he has a weapons attachment, and his machine gun enters the game. So let me find his machine gun. 3rd card from the top. It gives you +0. It also comes in with 4 counters, and basically when he attacks, there will be an interrupt. He will deal indirect damage based on whatever the top card of the encounter deck shows on it. At the end of my turn, I have to discard the card that's left in my hand, which is Hawkeye Cape Bishop. I now draw up the hand size, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 suborbital leaps, a thunderclap, and lockjaw. Ready up. And he has 14 health. Okay, we're going to start the villain phase. First, he will put 1 per player, 1 threat on the main scheme. Now he's attacking me. There's an interrupt. When he attacks me, I remove an ammo counter. And so this is the when he attacks me. I will, something I'm not quite sure of, and I'm not going to rule on it I'm not going to look up the rules right now because it doesn't make a difference. I don't know if I deal my boost card and then do that forced interrupt or not. But it's not going to affect how the game works. We're just going to do it this way, that this is the machine gun. So I removed one counter, and I'm going to take one boost, one indirect damage. So I'm down to 17 health. And then here's his boost card. So he's attacking me for 2 plus 1 plus the boost. I'm just going to take the attack. 2 plus 1 plus 2 boost. So that is 3, 4, 5 damage, in addition to the 1 I got already. And then I get my encounter card, also known as a bad card. Hydra Soldier with guard, and he has a when defeated attack. When defeated, deal the engaged player an encounter card, and he's got guard, so I just go ahead and put that right on his health dial. Okay, he's got 4 health. And I have a suborbital leap, which I'm definitely not going to be using here. Okay, so Thunderclap, what's interesting about Thunderclap is a hero action. Choose 3 different enemies, deal 3 damage to each of them. It is not an attack. It does not say attack in italics or in the traits. So guard does not affect that. So I'm going to use the other 3 cards in my hand to play Thunderclap. And I'm going to deal 3 damage to the Hydra Soldier and 3 damage to Crossbones. He's down to 11 health. That was my whole hand. I am then going to hit the Hydra Soldier with 3 damage, which defeats him. So I get an encounter card. The guard token goes away, and he gets discarded. The when defeated token goes away. Now, again, I'm playing for a win-loss. I'm not playing to win Solo Champions League. So I am going to flip down, because I'll just let him proceed on his main scheme. He's at 11 health. I think I'll be all right. So I deal myself 5 cards, draw up to hand size 2. Okay, Limitless Strength. I was really hoping to get another Hulk Smash there, because that would just be game over at this point. Okay, we're going to go to, and I have an extra encounter card. We're going to go to the villain phase. 1 on the main. He schemes for 2 and a boost. It's a 3. So he pops main scheme 1B over to 2A, which has no gameplay text on it. So I go to 2B. When revealed, reveal the top card of the experimental weapons deck. It is a Power Gauntlets experimental weapon. When he attacks and damages you, discard a card from your hand, and have to spend multiple resources to discard that card. So I only have Retaliate because he's ranged, and I'll have to discard a card if he damages me. That's pretty bad. We're going to want to not deal with that. Okay, here's my counter card I got from defeating the Hydra Soldier, and then here's my second encounter card. Caught off guard, discard an upgrade or support you control. Lucky you, I have none, so this gains Surge. Okay, attached to the villain, this is Weapon Master. A Weapon Master card called Hydra Sidearm. He now has +2 ATK. When he attacks, he gains range. It's actually the same. It is almost identical to Laser Rifle. It just has different resources to spend to get rid of it. Second card, Hydra Bomber. When revealed, take 2 damage or put a threat on the main scheme, which is currently at 0 out of 6. I will go ahead and add 1 threat to the main scheme. All right, back to my turn. We'll draw a card. I'm going to do my experimental research. Draw a card. Maria Hill. Choose and discard a card you have. I'm going to get rid of Boundless Rage for +1 attack. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play Maria Hill for 2 costs using my Double Genius. So Maria Hill comes in, and when she enters play, I get to draw a card. Got to make the call. Interesting. What I'm going to do to not have to deal with a bunch of crossbone attacks also, I'm going to play Mockingbird for 3 using my trip. I have to be in hero form. I'll flip up, not recovering or anything like that. Use Limitless Strength triple to play Mockingbird. She then places a stun on Crossbones. I am going to Because I could strengthen numbers to draw cards, but... And that would let me make the call for Wonder Man too. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to play Strength in Numbers, exhaust allies I control, exhausting Maria Hill and Mockingbird. I get to draw 2 cards. So I could play Falcon with Limitless Strength and make the call. Or I could do a make the call and call in any other ally in my discard pile, to include Lockjaw. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to play Make the Call. I'm going to use Limitless Strength to play Wonder Man. This is, I believe, the first time in my Marvel Champions career that I've used the Wonder Man ally. And this is exactly why, with my hand size. As an additional cost for Wonder Man to attack, you must discard a card from your hand. I'm going to discard Falcon. Wonder Man is going to exhaust, and he is going to deal 3 damage to the villain. Hulk is going to deal 3 damage to the villain. The villain is at 5 health. He is also stunned, which means he won't attack me, and even if he did, I have all these allies right now. I'm feeling really good about how this is going to go. I'm going to draw 4 cards. 1, 2, Nick Fury, 3, 4. Yeah, you're in trouble, Crossbones, to be honest. Okay, we're going to the villain phase. 1 threat on the main. It's at 2 out of 6. The villain goes to attack me. He is stunned. This card is stun status. Hydra Bomber attacks me for 1. That's okay. I'm just going to take it. I go to 11 health, and then I get an encounter card. My encounter card states, Weapon Master. The villain attacks you. If he has a weapon attachment, this card gains Surge. It does gain Surge, but we're going to resolve this 1 sentence at a time. So, first, he is going to attack me. Interrupt. I remove an ammo counter, and I'm going to take indirect damage. 3 is my obligation card with 3 boost icons. I'm at 8 health. Then I'm going to deal his boost card. Now, with what I'm going to do, and Wonder Man should have 1 consequential from earlier. Maria Hill is going to take this attack. So he is attacking for 2, 3, 4. These are ranged attachments, and this one says if he damages me, I have to discard a card. Hopefully he's only damaging Maria Hill here. So 2, 4, plus 0. Maria Hill, thank you for your service. She has been defeated. Now Weapon Master, because he has a weapon attachment, in fact he has 3, this card gains Surge. Here's the Surge card. Concussion Grenade Hero, you are stunned. Deal a damage to your hero. So I deal a damage to my hero, and I'm stunned. He has 5 health. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to attack with Wonder Man for 3. He's down to 2, and I had to pay a card from the hand to attack. He's up to 2 consequential damage, and Crossbones has 2 health left. To make this simple, I am going to get ready Wonder Man, and then I'm going to discard Nick Fury, attack for 3 more damage, bringing Crossbones level 2 or down to 0 health. He has been defeated. I won the game. I'm at 2 threat on main scheme 2 and 7 health remaining. That was Marvel Champions Solo Champions League Season 4, round number 1. Thanks for watching.